Good morning, everybody. Welcome back once again. It is Friday, March 15th, 8:51 a.m. to another market open. It's Friday. We're here. We are done with, I would say, an eventful week. It's been an exciting week. Lots of things happened this week. In fact, this week, Bitcoin got to 73,000. And the funny thing about Bitcoin, which is what I'm learning as my first time kind of participating in this cycle, is that in a week you can make gains that are quite phenomenal in regards to, how the price action can move. And then within a few hours, all of those gains can go away as Bitcoin drops to 67,000, down basically $5,000, and down 5% in the past 24 hours. So that is, I think, the headline of the day. Now, it's very interesting because that's implicating a lot of different stocks in the market. And it's having sort of, outside ramifications. We're going to talk about the Bitcoin ETF flows, Michael Saylor, what he's doing, a lot of different stuff going on. On top of that, Tesla. Today's going to be a very interesting day for Tesla. Tesla 162 right now in the pre-market, slightly up. Can Tesla maintain these levels, or does it kind of fall through? Options are expiring today across the entire stock market. March 15th is one of those days where it's one of those, it's a Friday and it's a big Friday. It's the middle of March. So a lot of things tend to expire. There's about $3.3 billion worth of Ethereum and Bitcoin options as well that are expiring. And so that's going to have a ton of implications on the broader stock market. So we're going to see what happens, see how things go, and we'll get into it on a beautiful Friday morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Switchblade, Foolish Hiker, Broccoli Bob, Damien, Top Dasher, Brandon, Darkstar, Missy, Trucker Rob. Good morning from Atlanta. Let's do where you're watching from. We do that once a week. So here we are at the end of the week. Where are you watching from today? Or we already got a bunch of people saying where they're watching from. Good morning from Finland. I love it. Stockton, amazing. Richard, digital content. Ty Gordon, Iceman, JJ, Kelly. Hello. Thank you for being here. Brent, Jared, Sarah, Philip, Deb, Navte, Tankstead, Richard. Thank you all. Toby, I'm Beneficial. Welcome to Crypto Mit. Well, I'm really not freaking out that much about it, quite frankly, because I think given the demand data I'm looking at, I think 67 is going to get eaten up really quickly. In fact, I think a lot of the big guys like BlackRock and Fidelity are actually wanting it to get this low in order for them to do what they need to do, maybe playing a hand in terms of it getting this low. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, but we'll see how it ultimately plays out over the next couple of days. All right, we got Wisconsin. Love it. We got Ontario, Canada. I love Canada for a reason. We have Kelly saying your bed. That's right. You're right there. I'm looking at you. You're just being all cute there, right on the bed. I don't know why you tell everybody, but now everybody knows. Iowa, Portugal, Illinois, Orlando, Hawaii, Dallas, Canada, Houston, Missouri. Ty Gordon is the only one watching from Missouri, and I know that because there's not that many people watching this from Missouri. So it's Ty Gordon. So thank you, Ty. Appreciate you from being here. Adam says he's from New York, where people get shot on the train. Good morning to you too, Adam. Oh boy. Michigan, North Carolina, Colorado, Denmark, San Diego, Los Angeles, Connecticut. Everybody, thank you for being here. I as you can see, I am not super high energy right now. I'm a little sleepy, dude. I'm a little sleepy. I don't think I've slept this week. Like, I legitimately think I have not slept this week. It's just been one of those weeks where you just don't sleep that much. So I need to figure out how to just fucking sleep every day, because I definitely didn't get enough sleep last night. But yeah, we still have an entire market to analyze, so we gotta sleep. We got New Mexico, NYC in the house. All right, so let's get into Bitcoin. Let's see what's going on. Bitcoin right now, as you can see, 67,000. This is what happens when you don't sleep, dude. I'm just like, can't even see the price of Bitcoin. 67,805. Bitcoin right here. Ethereum as well, 3691, and not doing the best. Why is this happening? I don't really think it's about profit taking at an extreme level. I think a lot of this has to do with particular types of manipulation. Now, granted, yesterday was one of the worst days for inflows when it came to the Bitcoin ETFs. So let me pull that up right now and show you guys how bad it was. Because it wasn't, I mean, I say bad, but it just wasn't as big as it was. So The Fidelity only brought in 13.7 million in inflows, which Fidelity was doing basically 280 a day. So it's low for Fidelity. BlackRock brought in 345, which is the lowest in the past like month, lowest since March 1st, 205. But even before March 1st, they were doing like 500 a day. So, BlackRock didn't bring in that many inflows. And then the other ones, obviously, Grayscale started to lose a lot more money, with Grayscale being at 257. So net inflows yesterday were 132 million. Now, one of the things I realized today when I was looking at some of the research this morning, when I woke up after not sleeping, is that a lot of the Bitcoin activity ends up happening at night. So the Bitcoin ETF buyers, they don't buy it until, so like BlackRock collects $500 million during the day, and then at night is when they purchase all the Bitcoin. So what's interesting seeing Bitcoin at 67,000 is that it got liquidated close to, I think, like 2 a.m. when I was up, and that's when I saw it kind of crash. And BlackRock probably bought, but they obviously did not buy enough to be able to like pump it back up to 72,000, right? So we're going to need to see more inflows coming from those guys, or in general, more retail participate to get this thing to start going higher. And obviously, a lot of the options expiring today. That is also another kind of pie in the sky reason for why probably Bitcoin fell. The market makers are trying to liquidate the shorts and out leverage the or liquidate the mega leverage longs as well that are playing both sides of the aisle when it comes to Bitcoin. So I think we're going to see some momentum there in regards to Bitcoin. And Michael Saylor now raising 525 million, so 25 million more than expected. That 525 million will also be buying Bitcoin, and I'm sure he's ecstatic because he gets to buy at 67 or 66 versus 72. That's probably going to be exciting to him, or important to him. Digital Content says option related crypto dump. Yeah, I definitely think options are part of the crypto related dump. It's not the full story, but it's a part of it. And as a result of that, I do think it's really normal. Like when I saw this happen last night, I was just like, all right, whatever. Like I not only do I think I'm getting used to it a little bit, but I also just thought like we've seen Bitcoin fall to 66, 67 and then just spike up so many times. Like this thing fell to 66, by the way, last night, and then 66 like 8, and then it just spiked up. So, I mean, when I saw it happen, I was just like, all right, I expect it to happen again. And we'll see if it happens. But I think it's a dip that's going to get bought. Consequentially, obviously, other stocks are going to be affected by this. So let's go to the crypto stocks. MicroStrategy down 3% in the pre-markets. Now, Robinhood, interestingly enough, this is very interesting. Robinhood's only down like 5 cents in the pre-market. It's at $18. And you would think Robinhood gets destroyed with Bitcoin falls 5%. Maybe we're seeing a little bit of, no. So why is CleanSpark down 3%? Because CleanSpark is literally like, if Bitcoin goes down, CleanSpark goes down, right? Like this is the difference between the miners and some of the other plays. Like if you're in a miner and Bitcoin goes down, you are screwed. There is nothing else you can do. You have to have Bitcoin continue to maintain higher, especially because after the halving event, the miners can't even make as much Bitcoin as they want it to make right now. So those are down. Marathon's down 3%. Hut 8 mining down 1%. Coinbase down 4%. Coinbase also more correlated with Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes down. Their fees start to not be as lucrative anymore. Now, granted, Coinbase is up a lot, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. But Robinhood actually not going down, or not like just collapsing, it was really exciting to me, because maybe the street's realizing that this is a company that's not just tied to Bitcoin, and there's a lot of other catalysts going for it. I think Bitcoin is a big part of it, and I do expect it to take a little bit of a dump this morning. But in the pre-markets, not seeing it collapse was pretty interesting to me, especially in terms of how the street is recognizing it after that February data. So that's what we got on some of the Bitcoin stocks. We got PayPal down about 0.16%, but holding 62 in the pre-market. SoFi, it's up a whopping 4 cents in the pre-market. So we got 709. I did close my cash secured puts on this company because I thought it might go below 7. And I mean, dude, if it breaks below 7, then it's going to be tough. SoFi is pissing off a lot of people right now, so we'll see what happens with SoFi. But not the best price action there. And then obviously AMD, that's down about 0.84%. Nvidia is up a little bit. They're going to have their big event next week, and we'll see what happens with them. But they're down to about 0.43%. Not down too much, but they are still down today. If Hood opens up $18, very bullish in my opinion. I agree. If Hood actually maintains $18, now I don't think it will. I think it might get back to 18 by the end of the day, because I think that dip is going to get bought if it gets to that 1770, 1780 level. But algorithms would sell Hood today, not people. Like if anyone's getting out of Hood today, it might be some retail traders that are taking profits. Obviously, options expiring today, people taking profits, so that'll be downside pressure. But algorithms would hold it down, because I think there's so much demand in the high 17s that it obviously can get eaten up more if people let it. Palantir in the pre-markets. I did a video yesterday on Daily Palantir reacting to Karp's interview. Amazing interview. For those that haven't seen it, definitely make sure to watch that interview. 24.29, down 0.57%. It did fall from 27.50 last week. So the fact that we got to 27.5 was exciting, but we all kind of knew it was going to be hard to maintain those levels. But we'll see if we can actually get there. I did buy one new option yesterday on Palantir. I'm not loading the boat on this. I just was looking at some of the prices. I was trying to see if I wanted to make a little bit of a long-term bet on Palantir, what would it look like? And the option is pretty simple. And I think it's cheap, but I obviously think it might get cheaper, which is a spread between the $37 and $40 Jan 2026 call. So I bought the 37 and I sold the 40 on top of it. And I used the premium from the 40 call to reduce the premium I paid for the $37 call. So now the $37 call is covered by the $40 call. The gains of the $37 call would be covered by the gains of the $40 call. Just like if I had 1,000 Palantir shares and I sold a $40 covered call on top of it, that's a covered call, right? That's because your call is literally covered with your shares. Same thing here. It's just that the call is covered with another call. And it cost me 58 cents, 57 cents, but in general, it's 55 cents. So 55 cents times 100 shares, $55 a contract. Max profit is 40 minus 37, which is $3 times 100 shares, 300. So you can make a 545% return in 2 years if Palantir hits $40 by Jan 2026. And so I guess the question is, do we think Palantir can be $40 by January 2026? That would put it at about an $80 billion market cap, doing probably $3.2 billion in revenue if we're using a 20% CAGR. I think that's possible. I think it is. I mean, I think 40 by January 2026 is not crazy, but I don't know. I'm looking more at that option and seeing if that could become a position to get some gain. Again, I don't really buy options on Palantir. I just buy shares. I was just looking at it yesterday, kind of just like peeking at the numbers. And I was like, that one looks a little cheap potentially. How much did you have to put down for that? So you guys saw it. It's the premium, right? I put down $57. So it was just 40 minus. It was the cost of buying the $37 call subtracted from the cost of selling the $40 covered call, and that came down to 57 cents. On Robinhood, again, it makes it really easy to do these call debit spreads. On Fidelity and Schwab, it's like I wouldn't even try it. I mean, you can do it there, but it's so weird. The interface is ridiculous, so it's just easier here. And then you get 57 cents, right? So 3 divided by 57, that's about 545%. It's a good return, but Palantir has to get to $40 by Jan 2026. And we got to see if it gets it. Fidelity is a nightmare. Yeah, dude. I told you guys I opened up a Schwab and Fidelity account last week just to like play with it, and I was just like, "What is this, dude? This is like unknown universe." I was like, where? Like, where? It's like, am I in like a different country or something? I legitimately, dude. I was like, how do I search for a ticker? Like, it was so weird. I was like, what is this? How do people use this? And I want to use it just to throw money in there and never look at it, right? And just like forget about it. But I was just like, this is weird. This is very weird. Have you tried Thinkorswim? I haven't. Who names a platform Thinkorswim, dude? What the fuck? What's the stupidest name I've ever heard of? Think or Swim. Like, what is the logic behind think or swim? Legitimate. Think or swim? Are you kidding me? Like, well, what does that even mean? You think or you swim? Like the name, the brand itself. The only reason these guys are winning is because they were there like 30 years ago, right? Founded in 1999. Yeah, they've been there for a while. But who wants to be like, oh, dude, download Think or Swim? Like, no, dude. What is that? It's a play on the words sink or swim. That's dumb, dude. What marketing guy thought of that? Like, oh, let's do think or swim instead of sink or swim. The orbital velocity of that person's marketing expertise was not high. It's not punny to me. You guys think that's, see, Peter says, bro, I've always thought that's the worst name. It makes no sense. I get the pun, but I don't like it, dude. Now, you could say the same for Robinhood. Robinhood is a stupid name, but if you kind of go deeper into it, it's like you kind of understand steal from the rich, give to the poor, and the whole concept is commission-free trading, right? Democratize finance to the everyday person. So that's why I like it. But obviously, you have to dig deeper into the brand. But think or swim. As soon as I heard that, like a couple of years ago, I was like, "What the fuck does that mean? Think or swim? What is that? Makes no sense to me." It was weird. It was very weird. Okay, so let's look at Gunjan, our channel, who is talking about retail investing in options on CNBC today and what she has to say about where the market is going, especially today as Friday's expiration date for options.
kick off its AI conference on Monday. Ahead of that, our next guest says that she is seeing levels of speculative options trading tied to semiconductor and technology stocks hitting levels never seen before, and many are positioning for that momentum to continue. She documents this in her latest piece titled "Frenzy Over AI and NVIDIA Turbocharges the Options Market." Gunjan Banerjee is the lead writer for the Wall Street Journal's live markets coverage, as well as a CNBC contributor. And Gunjan, this is casino-like activity. What's taking place here?
That's right, Becky. One trader said to me, this is the biggest casino in the world right now, referring to NVIDIA options, referring to semiconductor options. And activity has really hit the highest levels ever. And over the next few days, we have an action-packed week for the semis trade, right? We have this NVIDIA conference, we have Micron earnings, SMCI, super microcomputers set to join the S&P 500 after the market closed today. It's funny, this conference that NVIDIA is holding keeps coming up in conversations with traders almost more than, the Federal Reserve's interest rate decision. This is the thing that everyone keeps bringing up. And I think people are really on the edge of their seats to see how much higher can this AI trade go? How much room is there to run here?
If you're looking at NVIDIA shares just over the last 6 months, they've doubled, but this week they're down 7.5%. So I think people are starting to question, is this a straight up and to the right trade?
That's the biggest question out there on Wall Street, because let's not forget the path of NVIDIA has wide implications for the path of the broader market. I was looking at some data, and the S&P 500 and NVIDIA have moved in tandem in, say, 14 out of 19 of the past sessions. What's really interesting is when you look under the hood, people have been positioning for this stock to keep going higher. What traders are telling me is that the prices of trades that would profit if NVIDIA kept soaring, think $1,000 calls pegged to NVIDIA shares, are way surpassing the types of bearish trades that would profit if the stock fell. So there is just, when you look at the stock, it's not telling the full story. There's even more exuberance and more speculative activity under the surface.
The Fed may not be front and center for a lot of these traders, but maybe it should be if you're getting to the point where they're questioning the very rationale or the thesis that the Fed's going to cut rates sooner rather than later. These hotter than expected inflation numbers have done a number on things like crypto prices, and you could see that kind of playing out in these tech stocks too.
That's right. I mean, that's been the fascinating disconnect, right? Is it feels like everyone has moved over to the soft landing trade, this idea that inflation is going to fall, and not much can shake that, at least in the stock market so far. I think a lot of the fear this week has been concentrated in the bond market. We saw a little bit of a sell-off in treasuries, but take a look at the action yesterday. Microsoft hit yet another high in part because of an AI announcement. We had, a 0.3% sell-off in the S&P 500. So right now, that fear about decreased rate cuts is simply not seeping into the AI trade, the NVIDIA trade, and the S&P 500.
It's just that when you see stocks and bonds differentiate, people always start to wonder who's right. Can that bifurcation continue? And traditionally, conventional wisdom has always suggested that the Treasury market's smarter.
Right, the bond market's always a smart money, right? Who's the smart money right now? Is it the NVIDIA speculators or is it the Treasury traders? I think that's one of the biggest questions out there right now. But I think we have seen this divergence between stocks and bonds kind of happen for much of this year, right? Stocks have kept rising. The AI trade has kept reaching new heights, even though we've seen a little bit of a sell-off in the Treasury market. And I think next week with this NVIDIA conference is the next big test of that.
What do they need to hear? What do traders say they need to hear from NVIDIA on Monday in order to make all these trades make sense?
So this has become a story stock. I think a lot of people are watching Jensen Huang's speech on Monday. He has a keynote address. What does he say about new products? What does he say about customer demand, the total addressable market? I think that's really going to be the highlight for a lot of people, because right now they're clinging to his every word.
We've seen.
Okay, so we have some breaking news on Boeing from the Wall Street Journal. Obviously, what Gunjan was just saying is that there's a lot of speculation happening right now in NVIDIA, and we're going to see what ends up playing out with NVIDIA, especially in the next week as Jensen has his conference. Wall Street Journal is reporting, Boeing tells airlines to check their 787 cockpit seats after mishap on a Latin American flight. Okay, so this thing just came out. It's a little 2-minute video. Let's see what's going on here.
Turbulence. Egos flying. No.
Getting people to actually realize that what we've done yesterday or a week ago or a
Sorry,
month
it's
ago
an
will
ad.
not actually work tomorrow. It's something that you have to keep top of mind in all conversations.
We're now safe now. We're now safe now. Okay.
A massive jolt happened, and I was awakened, and I looked up to see the gentleman that was sitting next to me on the roof of the plane. I'm looking at him fully outstretched with his back on the roof of the plane. And then he came crashing down to the floor. It was insane. I was like, I thought I was dreaming.
Keep your seatbelt fastened until the seatbelt sign is turned off. If you have computers, you must turn them off and store them. Smaller devices must be held or stored in the seat pocket in front of you. Thank you.
The plane basically stopped. Like it almost, the best way to describe it is it's dropped out of the air instantly. And then it started to tail down, like nose down. And then it just picked up, it just kicked into gear and just took off again. And I was like, I was sure it was over. I was like, we're going, like, this is heading down. And then once it stabilized, there was no further turbulence, no nothing. And then the pilot came to the back. And I said to him, I said, what happened? And he said, my instruments, I just lost them. He goes, just for a few seconds, they went blank. And I was like, I was surprised that he'd said that, and I just went, wow. He goes, yeah. And then all of a sudden they just came back instantly, like within just a split second, but enough to cause the plane to just do whatever it did.
You know what's crazy about all of this is, and this is right here, Wall Street Journal just put out an article kind of discussing everything that's going on here. What's crazy about this is the fact that we even have airplanes out in the sky, like these huge like pieces of metal that are just in the sky that are flying all across. It's kind of insane that we as human beings have been able to figure this stuff out. And like we've done it successfully for since like, I don't know when the first real commercial flight happened, but probably in the early 1930s, 1940s roundabout. Like it was a lot. I'm getting a call from Chris right now. Let's get his thoughts on this because he flies a lot. Chris, I'm here with 800 people live on the market stream. You just saw that Boeing video. Any thoughts on what's going on with the airlines?
I wonder if there's a play to be made in Spirit Airlines.
Dude, we just saw people almost die, and you're talking about buying stocks.
No, because Spirit Airlines has only Airbus flights. So either one of two things happens. Either a company that has mostly Boeing planes says, hey, we don't want to risk this additional fucking liability and say, fuck it, we'll buy out Spirit for a really hefty price. This way they can replace their fleet very easily. Or people just say, fuck this, I'd rather fly Spirit than other players who are flying mostly Boeing.
Yeah, but dude, do you think there's going to be enough fear for people to actually go to a really crappy experience like Spirit?
Yeah, YOLO. Trust me, people still fly. Like I know people that go on like 5-star vacations and still fly Spirit. Yeah, we did that with Frontier. I mean, I don't know which one Frontier uses.
Okay, so you fly a lot, Chris, or you used to fly a lot, and you did Boeing. Did you ever feel any of these experiences that we're seeing over the past couple of weeks?
Not in the past. I was pretty confident, but I can tell you, I did not sleep one bit this time that I flew. Like I can't, because the entire time, any even like remote jiggle of the plane scared the shit out of me. And
really?
We had a few turbulent weather. Yeah, we had turbulent weather throughout. I mean, bro, you keep seeing this stuff on the news happening to Boeing. It's almost like, at this point, it's almost like routine. You got people fucking killing whistleblowers, you know?
Yo, what is your take on that? Do you actually believe Boeing Boeing knocked his head off?
I don't think so. I don't think anyone did. I think it might have been like other people, but I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that. But the point is, right now, Boeing is not good. It's a duopoly, which means it's the Airbus people are definitely going to be benefiting. The question is, who's got the most assets in the air that are Airbus that are undervalued like a motherfucker? And that's Spirit, because the deal fell through. So Spirit's prices are actually, I'm going to do some more due diligence, but there actually could be a play on Spirit Airlines, believe it or not.
Raise their prices now.
Yeah, Spirit's probably going to raise their prices too. Because it's like, hey, listen, if you don't want to die when you fly Spirit.
If you don't want to die when you fly, dude, that's
it may be a crappy experience, but at least we know that you're going to make it to your destination.
So
you know?
I'm going to India in October. I don't know what the flight is like, but I'm sure it's like a Boeing, big flight. And
no, I mean, it's probably an Airbus. Just, you can just look it up, which airline you're flying with, and you can see. But this is specifically a
787.
Yeah, I think it's like a specific type of plane that has majority of the issues. I know Southwest flies those planes. So let's just say.
Oh, by the way, Chris, I just got a breaking news from Reuters. United Airlines is closing on a deal to start leasing Airbus jets.
Hey, there you go. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, this broke literally 3 hours ago. Yeah.
Spirit could be a buyout target if that's the case. Like I said, we'd have to do more due diligence and research, but it does make sense. If you want discounted planes from the other side, instead of trying to put an order in right now, which you'll get 2 years from now, because literally the lead times for most of these planes are about 2 years out. You probably just buy Spirit and boom, now you've got an entire fleet of planes.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
I mean, it's like I said, it's worth researching more than anything, because Spirit benefits in two ways. One, additional traffic from people not wanting to deal with Airbus, right? And Spirit could actually use this as a marketing gimmick, right? And the other thing is a possible acquisition at an undervalued price. The problem with the acquisition, though, is that regulators will probably not allow it.
Yeah.
There's a lot, like the regulators didn't even allow Spirit to merge with JetBlue. So I don't know if that's actually going to work out. But the point is, the assets that Spirit has may actually be worth more than people are giving it right now, especially with all the shit that's happening with Boeing. And remember what happened with Boeing last time. They had to ground their planes. And if the FAA comes out right now and says, hey, listen, we want to ground all these planes,
yeah.
Yeah, this is why you're not allowed to invest anything, because you're not creative enough. 7 incidents in 2 weeks. Get out of my face! You don't fly enough. All right. Huh?
That's Chris arguing with his wife.
Yeah, because I was trying to get some freedom from you. That's why I wanted to take my life to the edge. I did come home. I don't know why. All right, I gotta go.
Wait, what do you think of this one? Fly Spirit if you don't want to be one.
Dude, that's fucking awesome. You gotta tweet that.
That's VR Japan. You put in
the
chat.
Tweet that.
All right, Chris.
To, the Spirit CEO.
Bye.
Bye.
That's hilarious, dude. Yeah, I mean, look, maybe there's something to look at with Spirit. The thing about Chris is he finds he's a mercenary, dude. He's an assassin. He'll find opportunity in anything, and so he'll update us on some more DD he finds. I'll look at his Spirit as well. When I looked at their financials back when they fell to 6 at one point. I remember. I know they're below that now, but I didn't love their financials, but maybe this Boeing thing is a little bit of a catalyst to get people excited about it. We'll see. Bitcoin right now, 67,817, Ethereum 3,600, SoFi 705, Spirit Airlines actually up a little bit. Boeing somehow is up a little bit. I don't know who's buying Boeing stock. I mean, look, I think there are a lot of people that will think these are isolated incidents and that they won't turn into a trend, which they're probably right. But there are probably other people and investors who are a little scared that, there might be some regulatory issues. Boeing is one of the most powerful companies, I think, in the United States because they control so many airlines. And I think even the Air Force One, is Air Force One a Boeing? Air Force One is a Boeing. Let's see. Is that a Boeing flight? Yeah, it's a 747. It's a Boeing aircraft. So, I mean, the government does rely on Boeing for a lot of different things. The question is, how bad does this end up getting at the end of the day? Okay, so we got some updates on that in regards to Boeing. Let's take a look at this right here. So we got an argument from JP Morgan on why the market rally should start to broaden as we're seeing IWM and small caps be under a little pressure. Let's see their perspective on where the market's going.
Markets right now. We want to bring in Tom Kennedy. He is chief investment strategist at JP Morgan Private Bank. And Tom, the hot PPI and CPI numbers that we got for this most recent month have a lot of people questioning whether we really are going to see a soft landing, whether the Fed's going to be able to cut rates. You're still a true believer.
Yeah, we certainly are. It certainly challenges a soft landing, without a doubt. But when you look at underneath the surface of the inflation data, what are you seeing? Is goods-based inflation was deflationary for a period of time, bottoming out. So we're through that phase. The COVID-induced inflation rebound, if you will, it's hard to say that with inflation coming down, that seems to be behind us. But as we start to look forward, it's all about the labor market. And inside the labor market, we've just gone through a generational surge in labor supply. And that's from a domestic sense and from an international sense. Domestically, work from home behavior seems to be here to stay. A LinkedIn survey from last year, which was the first real test I've seen in a normal time. 2023, what about you guys? I wasn't wearing masks, I was going out, everything was fine. 50% of all jobs filled on LinkedIn were either hybrid or full work from home. That's here to stay, so it draws people back into the labor force.
When you start looking at what happens next with the markets, you're looking for a change in leadership. You do think the mid caps are going to step up and take over the reins?
I think there's a really big opportunity to see a broadening in this rally. The concentration in performance in US tech has been stark. We all talk about it. But really, since October, when that Fed pivot came into fruition, S&P tech sector has led, and at the same time, Russell 2000 and mid caps have outperformed. It's quite odd, given that the tech concentration is so low. I think it can broaden out for a few reasons. Earnings should move from, in the mid caps, from negative last year to plus 10 this year. Valuations are relatively cheap. And there's a heavy concentration in industrials, which is where the US government is spending. And even if we get a change in leadership at the president level, it looks like that spending should be durable.
Okay, what if the inflation picture?
Okay, so I think he's right about that. The question is going to be, is that cyclicality going to matter? And the problem is, I think investors still want to get into tech. So right now we have NVIDIA here at 871, down about 0.85%, still up almost 65% year to date. His argument is that the U.S. government is spending in different areas like industrials, and that's why more money can be allocated there. Obviously, small caps haven't really rallied as much as we thought they would be. Bottomed at 160, now at 202, which is good, but it's taken 4 or 5 months to get there. So there's a lot more momentum to get these guys to 250. Tom Lee thinks that's the range they could get to. The problem is that PPI data we got yesterday was really bad. Now, it wasn't bad enough to destroy the market. It did tank the market. I mean, we did see the stock market go red yesterday for the first time in a bit. The S&P is on its best momentous rally over the past 24 years. So if you look at the momentum in the S&P, basically over the past 7-8 months, in the past 24 years, we have not had this big of a rally, or this the rally has never had this type of momentum. So obviously we're gonna have some red days, and that's fine. But small caps is gonna be hard for them to break out if PPI is 1.6 versus 1.1 until we get one of those months, which is I would imagine June, July, where PPI and CPI significantly fall, which it seems like with the labor market being the way it is, that might not happen in the significant way, even if there is somewhat of a fall. I don't know if small caps necessarily get the benefit of the broadening of the rally. And if they do get the benefit of the broadening of the rally, then Apple needs to lose some more capital. And so does Google, right? And we're seeing Apple and Google, rebound from their lows because investors are kind of not safe in the small caps. They want to go to companies that they think are safe. And even if they don't like Apple and Google right now, those companies are safer than some of the other plays. Tesla right now, 162.79. Google, 143. Apple, 171. Microsoft hit an all-time high yesterday, 427. Right now, 422. NVIDIA, again, 869. And Amazon at 177 for the day right now. We have some news from Mr. Bernie Sanders in the United States. This is a 1-minute clip. He is proposing a 32-hour work week. So let's listen to his proposal. Here we go.
Because it's not an issue we talk about enough. Today in America, 28.5 million Americans, 18% of our workforce, now work over 60 hours a week. And 40% of employees in America now work at least 50 hours a week. We were talking about a 40-hour work week 80 years ago. And that's what people today, despite the explosion of technology, are working. The sad reality is Americans now work more hours than the people of any other wealthy nation. And we're going to talk about what that means to the lives of ordinary people.
Does anyone agree with that 32-hour work week? Do we want to make that mandatory? That is that's what he's doing. We have obviously a 40-hour work week, kind of 9 to 5 days a week. That's pretty, I mean, that's like kind of standard. Switzerland has 40. Yeah, if you're in a different country other than the United States, what is your work week? What is your work week? Please put it in the chat for people who are not in the United States. Because the United States, I know, is 40. I know, and that's the basic, right? Most people do way more than 40. I think in China, they have this kind of like 9 to 9 work week, especially for the manufacturing jobs. So that's closer to like 60 to 80 hours on average, not 40. 37 to 40 in the UK, 35 in Germany, Denmark 37. Why do you guys have 37 or 38? Like, why are the numbers not whole numbers? Like, because does that mean on Friday you leave like 2 hours early? Because 37 is basically 40 other than 3 hours. Like, where do those 3 hours get taken away from? That's such a weird thing that it's not like a round number. 40 in Portugal. Mr. Moody says I work 10 hours a month. Okay, so we know who bought NVIDIA early. It's definitely Mr. Moody. 40 in Ireland. India's 30 hours. No way, dude. India doesn't have dude, I'm from India. People work like crazy in India. It's not 30 hours. It's called 996. Yes, it's called 996. 6 days a week. 9 to 9, 6 days a week. I think that's what it is. 9 to 9, 6 days a week. Yep. Switzerland has 41.5. See, why are you guys subtract a half hour for lunch each day? Well, yeah, that's true, right? Because the American 9 to 5, that doesn't factor the lunch. Everyone takes at least a 30-minute lunch break, at least in America, I would imagine. Obviously, it differs from job to job. And all the tech workers in America, they're not working 8 hours a day, dude. They're like, especially the best coders, they're working like an hour and then they're doing whatever they want. But the value they're providing in that 1 hour is so good, right? So it obviously differs with jobs. But I guess, yeah, in America, it's not 40 because everyone's eating lunch. And in lunch, you take out 30 minutes a day times 5 days. That's 2.5 hours, right? Yeah, so technically it's 37.5 for America, not 40. 1 hour usually. Yeah, if you take out an hour, it's 35 hours a week. If you take out an hour for lunch. It's interesting. I think 32, the problem with Bernie's proposal is that we got the market open in 2 minutes. The problem with Bernie's proposal is that we need productivity from AI, and you need people to work to be able to create that productivity, even though you have AI. So either AI is so productive for earnings that you don't need people to work 40 hours a week, because obviously 32 hours a week, if you have an hour of lunch, that gets down to like the low 20s in terms of hours per week, or AI is not productive enough, so people not working those extra 8 hours a week in the current 40-hour work week just means that earnings collapse because you still need work to get done. It all comes down to productivity whenever politicians argue about how much people should work. And if the productivity argument isn't clear, then obviously it's not going to be the best for earnings at the end of the day for stocks, right? And so I think that's kind of the big question there. Okay, it is officially Friday, March 15th. It's been an exciting week. 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. Palantir falling below 24, 23.88. Getting a little bit of a red day on Palantir. So we'll see if that dip gets eaten up. 23.94 down 1.99%. NVIDIA 873 down about 0.62%. Spirit up 1%. Boeing up 0.25%. Adobe down 13%. We'll talk about Adobe in a second. I do think they probably deserve to be down 13%. I mean, if I was the institutional fund manager and I saw those earnings, I would probably dump the stock and buy it later. Now, I think the earnings call was good, but the numbers weren't the best, and the way they explained why the numbers weren't the best. It's not like the company's in a problem. It's just like you don't need to own the stock at $570. So I understand why it's selling off right now. We'll talk about them more in a second. They're down 13%. They just lost $25 billion off their market cap. SoFi touched 697, just rebounded to 7. There you go, folks. Under $7 for SoFi. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. At this point, I don't know if it's management's fault for the stock being down like this because management is growing and the company is executing. I really do believe the company's executing, or the stock market just has a thing against SoFi. And I hope it's the latter and not the former. I hope it's not, management execution. I wouldn't think it is because we know management, we know Noto executes. But the stock market has a thing for SoFi, and eventually I think that will fade away. But for now, they do not like SoFi. Robinhood, 1779, that's down 1.3%. We'll see how that does. Ulta is down 8%. Their earnings weren't the best either. ELF, 1.79%. SMCI down 2.5%. It's a red day in the market, folks. But Tesla is not red. Tesla's green. Celsius is down. MicroStrategy down 4%. Monster down. UiPath up 1.3%. And Tesla up 1.02%. Obviously, 162 was enough for some people to buy the dip. And we're seeing some momentum. And Tesla, do you have positions in SoFi? Yes, I bought 30 options yesterday on SoFi as well. So I mean, I'm adding to my options on SoFi because I think it's stupid at this price. Like I genuinely think it's stupid. But I do think that the market's just a little, I don't know, the market's a little upset at SoFi right now. Or they just don't want to give it the premium, which is fine. We have time, but it is definitely making some shareholders not the happiest. And obviously, I don't think SoFi has a catalyst for like the next 6-8 months. I think it's going to take some time. They don't have anything like crypto. Nothing's really there outside of the fact that they're undervalued, but the street doesn't really care, that they're undervalued. S&P down about 0.45%. Coinbase down about 3%. Snowflake, wow, 157 on Snowflake. If this bad boy hits 140-ish, that's going to be crazy, dude. From 230 to 140 on earnings just because they replaced the CEO. I mean, who would have thought the beloved stock on Wall Street would just collapse after they announced that they're, having a new CEO? Like, it's pretty incredible to see that playing out. IWM up a little bit, 202. Ethereum 3,600. Bitcoin 67.6. Let's look at some of the crypto stocks. I'm sure they're taking a beating right now. Coinbase down 2%. Oh wow, CleanSpark, it's only down 0.51. I thought it would be down more. That's not bad. Marathon's down 3%. Hut 8 down about 1%. MicroStrategy down 5%. Obviously, MicroStrategy is up. Let's still see how much they're up for the week because they had a great week. MSTR for the week, these guys are still, they're still up 22%. They're down almost 15% since yesterday, still up 22%. So MicroStrategy had a pretty good week. Where's Tesla? Is Tesla getting hit? Tesla's wow. Tesla's up 2%, folks. Street's buying the dip. The street is buying the dip on Tesla, or retail. Someone's buying the dip on Tesla. And there you go. Robinhood getting smacked down 2.82%, 1750. The main reason is Bitcoin. Obviously, if Bitcoin takes a beating, these guys are going to take a beating with it. And so that's what we're seeing right now for some of these stocks. I mean, they're going to get hit if this happens. 164 right now on Tesla. Nvidia 869. That's down 1%. And Palantir 23.94. We'll see how quickly Palantir can recover as well. Palantir usually gets into that $24 range. So we'll see if that happens. Kathy, let's talk about her. She bought a lot last night. So she actually bought and sold. She sold 1 million shares of Robinhood, and she bought 216,000 shares of Tesla. So Kathy bought the dip. Now for Robinhood, you see those 2 stars right there? That's like some rule in their ETF that it can't become too much of the fund. And so that's why she sold. This one, she didn't have that rule in RKK. Now it's already 5% of the fund, so I understand why she's selling, right? It's run up a lot. So 580,000 shares sold in the RKK, and the other fund, it was kind of based on those rules. But she bought 161,000 Tesla in RKK, and 18,000 in RQ, and 36,000 in RW. So Kathy definitely bought the dip, and it was almost $35 million worth of Tesla that she bought. Question is going to be, was that a good dip to buy in that $164, $165 range? CNBC is talking about Palantir right now. Okay, let me go to CNBC. Let's see if we pull them up and see what they're saying. Let's see what the suits have to say about Palantir. Are they there right now? Okay, so let me... Oh, there we go. Yeah, I got it. I got the clip. Oh, they're talking about the CEO interview. Okay, here we go. Let's see what they have to say. Here we go.
Mostly based on soft landing, earnings growing higher, about 4.3. It's a better than expected inflation, soft landing.
Of Palantir about short sellers. His stock is up 200% in the last 12 months. He feels very good about the fact that they are not doing well betting on his stock. Here's what he said.
I love burning the short sellers. Like almost nothing makes a human happier than taking the lines of cocaine and away from these short sellers who like are going short on a truly great American company, not just ours, but just love pulling down great American companies so that they can pay for their coke. And the best thing that could happen to them is we will lead their coke dealers to their homes after they can't pay their bills. And that's like one of my
surely all short sellers.
Yeah, well, go ahead, do your thing. We'll do our thing.
Tell us how you really feel.
You must have watched The Wolf of Wall Street a lot of times or something.
You know what,
I don't know, man. Coke sniffing short sellers, really?
I think he was maybe part serious, part joking, but the truth is that had a lot of pent up anger there for short sellers. We will lead them to their homes.
Yeah. Mike, listen, there are short sellers who do an enormous amount of work that is not done oftentimes by others that have very strong cases to be made sometimes, whether it's underlying fundamentals or unearthing things that we're unaware of. That said, there also are times when, of course, they do engage in perhaps behavior that is somewhat unethical.
But for some reason, short sellers get a lot of grief when they are out there talking their book, and when we don't actually apply the same thing to people saying, we love this stock, it's going higher, it's going to be great in 5 years. I kind of don't understand why he's so focused on it. It's 5% of the shares are short at Palantir right now. It's not as if this is a massively crowded short. History says that companies that scapegoat shorts and spend a lot of time thinking and talking about them underperform over the long term. You're better off ignoring it and showing it with the results. Combativeness is great. You want your company to do well. You want them to lose money if they're short.
I think he's a founder, first of all.
Of course.
And I think there were a lot of doubters when Palantir went public.
Absolutely.
What do they do? It's so secretive. How is this going to work?
Can they have a commercial business as opposed to just DOD?
And when he's sitting on, first of all, he's proven that they can. Their last quarter commercial accounts rose 55%, and it's been a big growth story for them. What they're doing on the battlefield and changing warfare through AI. And so he's sitting on this kind of game-changing technology, wondering what the heck are these people doing shorting my stock early?
All true, but I kind of agree with Mike in the sense that they're in his head, which is weird because the company's
stock also went
performing
from 9 to 35 in the first 2 months it was public, and people said, "What is this? There's not a lot there." And so it did have its crash along with all the other class of 2020, tech startups, and it went down to 6. Now it's back up into 23.
I guess he bears the scars.
I think he probably just says what a lot of CEOs think, which is we don't want you betting against our company.
Sure, that's fair.
We're a great American company.
Yeah. Distraction more than anything else. Just deliver, unless lies are being spread, in which case you need to combat it. You want to talk Ulta at all?
It's so interesting, dude. I have a couple things I want to say about this. Number one, I agree with Honest Chill in the chat. It's really not that serious. It's funny that they're making a segment out of it and trying to kind of critique it. There's two things about this. I think, first of all, they think Karp is harping on this. It's in his mind. I saw this take going around on Twitter, like, oh, Karp's obsessed with the shorts. Dude, it was 30 seconds where he made a funny simile, metaphor, analogy, whatever you want to call it, about if you have to be high to be shorting Palantir. Because yes, there's only 97 million shares short Palantir, which is kind of why it's not that big of a deal. But even those 97 million shares, why are you shorting Palantir, right? Given the growth they've done, given how they've rallied 200% year from the lows. So it's kind of just like it was a 30-second little offhanded comment that was funny to most of us. But people seem to be stuck up on that. Number two, I think they don't understand the power of narrative building. If you're a founder and you have a company and you're trying to accentuate your message to get people to listen to you, and listen to you is a big word. Palantir right now down 2.3%. You want people to care, whether they love you or hate you. You want them to have an opinion of you. The hardest thing in the world to do is to get people to care. You need to say things that are exciting and interesting. And it's not like Karp's out there looking to say something salacious. It's just in the heat of the moment, he thought of this analogy and it was executed in the context of short sellers. And he painted a narrative around how these short sellers are high on coke. You got to remember, Karp is also an academic. He has a PhD. He's philosophical. So when he says we will lead the coke dealers to their house, he's making this metaphor around, oh, if you get margin called or if you have to cover your short, like the best thing that can happen for you is that, you know, you ultimately have to confront your coke dealer, right? So it's like these types of things come out of someone who has a PhD in philosophy, who also has a business sense, because there's all these thoughts going around in his head and it comes out into these kind of spontaneous, eclectic, eccentric phrases. And I loved it. And I think a lot of retail loves it. And so it's weird. I wish Sarah had actually stood up for him a little bit more in that moment and kind of said, guys, it was a 30-second part of a 16-minute interview where he's literally making a joke. Like, I mean, at this point, if you're a C-suite and you can't make a joke about short sellers, and it's just weird that everyone thinks he's obsessed with the shorts. It's like he barely talks about, even with Edwin from the Bear Cave, he mentioned him for 5 seconds in the Bloomberg interview and he moved on. So I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was exciting. I thought it was good. I thought it was him being authentic and true. But it seems like a lot of mainstream media thought he's crazy, which is fine because you could think he's crazy as long as the company executes. I don't care. And sometimes crazy actually leads the company to execute. It was a Karpism, correct? It was a Karpism. They're insecure about it because it's true. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's the same thing they do to Elon, right? When he says the stuff that he says about shorts. I want to see if I can find that clip, guys. I haven't been able to find it. I don't know if anyone has this, where Elon tells a short seller, man, that's going to hurt. Let me see if I can find it out. Elon Musk, short seller, that's going to hurt. There's a really good clip on this a while ago, if anyone has it, where he's at a conference and he just tells someone who's short, it's going to hurt that you're short Tesla. It's like a 30-second clip from like 2017 or something. I'm going to see if I can find it, but it's a good one. And I think that's basically what Alex Karp did on that one. Okay, so that's what we have there. Also, Ty Gordon, good point. I don't think he was joking at all. He's pissed about people betting against America or quick gains. How's that a joke? Yeah, that's another thing. I think that like the cocaine line is a joke, but his actual message around short sellers betting against America, I think he's 1000% like serious about that. And that's another point I think the CNBC guys don't mention, which is that this is an American company that you're going against trying to fight for American Western values. Like, you know, if you're going to short that, you might be in some trouble. And that is not a good thing to do, especially if you're the founder of that company. SoFi down below 7. It is a good thing that I sold my freaking cash secured puts yesterday. Or sorry, I bought them back because I sold them to collect some premium. Dude, on Monday, when I said, oh, I'm going to make a little bit of money because there's no way SoFi is going below $7, so I can easily sell these 500 cash secured puts. I'm not going to have to pick up $500 or 500 shares of SoFi and spend $3,500 of my collateral to buy SoFi. I didn't think that was going to have to happen. And if I didn't sell them yesterday or buy them back and take a $25 loss, I would be wondering throughout the entire day until 4 p.m. if I am going to have to let go of $3,500 to buy freaking SoFi. So it seems like that was the right decision to do. I really did not think we would get to this point below 7. Is like this, and I know the market's red, but I just thought SoFi had some juice to not like. Look, the market's red. Look at PayPal. PayPal should be. We thought PayPal would be 57 by now if the market's red. PayPal's holding strong at 63. 62.94. It's 6 cents away from 63. Like it's holding pretty strong on a red day. And SoFi's just collapsing. Like there's just like no support for this stock. And I feel like there's not enough people buying the dip. Volume is 5 million right now on SoFi. And it seems like there's just more sellers. Bitcoin right here, 68,000. Adobe down 13%. Okay, let's talk about Adobe real quick. Why is Adobe down? Main thing is because Adobe makes video editing software. And the problem is Sora, which is OpenAI's text to video. The market is thinking is going to be a threat to Adobe because people will not need to go to Adobe. They'll just go to Sora. They'll type in girl on a horse and then boom, a girl on a horse will pick up and they don't need to worry about Adobe. Adobe CEO yesterday was like, okay, even if they do that, there's going to be demand for people to edit those videos. And the editing of those videos is where our software becomes important. I think the market's calling bullshit on that. I think the market's like, dude, no one needs to edit these videos. No one needs to buy high level, director level software which is what Adobe Premiere is. And it's not beginner friendly. The Canva's beginner friendly. I've tried Adobe before. I used to use it in the past. It's really complicated, dude. Even cutting a scene from a video, I'm like, what tool? Like, I feel like I should be able to press one button. It's not the easiest to use. And so their argument is millions of people will just, make these small videos and then they'll go to Adobe. And the market's like, I don't think that's going to happen. On top of that, 8% year-over-year growth, not the best. $25 billion buyback. I saw that as a red flag because they don't know what the hell to do with their money. Because they couldn't buy Figma, which is the company they were supposed to buy for $20 billion. So I kind of think the market's calling their BS and saying, you guys need to really prove that in the context of generative AI, you actually have a strategy, because right now we don't believe the strategy you guys are telling us you have, which is just that more people are going to buy video platforms. DaVinci is more professional than Adobe and it's free. Yeah, I mean, this is a competitive market, dude. Canva is incredible. Canva's free, and I pay $13 a month for Canva because I use some advanced features, but I mean, a lot of stuff is free when it comes to video editing. So that's why there was a paradox here, because their argument is like, oh, all these millions of people are going to be using Sora text to video, getting all these little fancy videos, and they're going to use Adobe to edit. But in my opinion, the people that would be using Sora are not professional movie editors. Some part of them are professional movie editors, but the far majority, 95% of them, are just random people that want to see like something stupid happen in a text to video. They'll probably get bored of it in like a week, and then they're going to put out those videos. It's not going to be something that's like everyone thought a couple months ago, oh, YouTube's going to be filled with AI generated content. Remember we thought this back in May of 2023 when ChatGPT was taking off. It's like, oh, YouTube, Instagram, they're just going to have AI content. That's happened, but like, it's not really taken off. Like, I remember I was seeing some accounts of like AI news where there would be like an AI news reporter reporting the news, and people are like, oh, this is going to replace like CNN reporters. It's like, no, that hasn't happened. People don't care that much. In fact, people actually want to see like real people talk instead of AI. So I don't even know if text to video is going to be that important long term. In the context of replacing content, I definitely don't know if it's going to be a tailwind for Adobe's business either. Speaking of content, let's get an update on what's going on with TikTok potentially being banned in the United States and see some of the implications on what would happen for that. Sock on Parade says, has anyone tried to ever cancel Adobe? They are worse than a 24-hour gym. Yeah, I guess they're definitely not trying to lose their subscribers. All right, here's an update on TikTok.
Is the father of two of the most lucrative TikTok stars out there. Mark D'Amelio is here, and he's the co-founder of D'Amelio.
Oh, this guy. He's the father of Charlie D'Amelio. For those that don't know, if you're not familiar with her, she's the biggest star on TikTok. She has like 170 million followers. So it'll be interesting to see what her dad has to say about TikTok.
Brands, and you've made much of your empire on the platform that is TikTok. So what's going on inside the D'Amelio family as you're watching all of this play out?
I think it's interesting. Like Charlie texted me the other day. She's like, "Is TikTok getting banned?" And we went through this before over a year ago, where we knew early on that with what happened with Vine, that we would, because we're in social media, we would need to diversify, which we've done. So we're although TikTok is probably the biggest platform for us, we are on all the other platforms too.
And so, I mean, just as looking at how this plays out, how important is it for you? And are you thinking, okay, I got to transition even more to these other platforms? Do you say, I got to call Steven Mnuchin and try to get in on buying TikTok?
Yeah,
be part of that group. What's the thought process?
I'm open. If Steve Mnuchin wants to call me, I'd love to talk with him about it. But I think we're in a very fortunate position. Our run with TikTok's been great. I do not want to see it get banned, but it could happen, and if it does, we're already planning.
Do you think it's a national security threat? I mean, you've spent a lot of time on you probably thought about this, maybe even more than most Americans.
I mean, it starts to get outside of the realm of what I do every day. I haven't seen any evidence, not that I would, but I haven't seen any evidence that it is a national security threat. I think it is probably one of the biggest.
Okay, dude, if you've got like $10 billion built off the back of this platform, yeah, you're going to say it's not a national security threat. Like, I haven't seen any evidence. Like, dude, you're swimming in money. Of course you haven't seen any evidence.
Platforms for free speech that I've ever seen happen. And to me, that is very important.
Did he just say it's one of the best platforms for free speech? Hold on.
It's probably one of the biggest platforms for free speech that
Okay, if anyone's ever used TikTok, dude, it's not. They will ban your videos for anything. I mean, the amount of times they ban videos if you say something positive about Taiwan, that is not true. That is not true.
I've ever seen happen. And to me, that is very important. Probably the people that have been able to build careers and get their message out there. I can hold up a phone right now and I have 10 million people that potentially could see what I have to say, and it could. So that is really important.
What's the difference?
Now, that argument he's right about. He's right that discovery on TikTok is better than a lot of other platforms. I agree with that. But in terms of free speech, I don't know if he's right about that.
Difference in your mind between TikTok as a platform versus Instagram as a platform versus YouTube Shorts as a platform? Meaning, how do you think about it? As you've said to yourself, okay, I'm going to diversify. What do each of the platforms bring you that is potentially different, or do they all feel very similar to you?
I mean, I think both both Instagram and YouTube have tried to mimic TikTok. I think TikTok was lightning in a bottle. I mean, it still speaks to me. Whatever my interests are, it comes to my For You page, and it's been.
And you think you think that algorithm is better for example, than what you're getting on these other platforms?
It has been, yeah. It just seems to know you, and I think that's why everyone just loves to scroll on it.
What about, I mean, you've created now a whole number of direct-to-consumer businesses and a number of brands that now you're wholesaling as well. In terms of marketing, in terms of actually a platform that's selling product for you, is TikTok the one that's still, is it maybe because the numbers are just so big, but from an effectiveness perspective, you say, okay, one does better than the other for me?
I think Instagram shopping, TikTok was fairly new on the shopping side. Instagram's been great. It's one click. My daughter Dixie buys she's just one click shopping.
Same.
It's been pretty,
I buy a ton of stuff on Instagram.
Pretty awesome.
So the thing about TikTok that's really interesting as well, I used to have a very big TikTok. I mean, very big to me. It was about 50,000 followers. And me and my boy David, we used to have a podcast. You guys can't find it. The TikTok account is gone, so you're not gonna be able to find it. But we used to have a TikTok account, and we used to talk about just random shit, right? And somehow we grew it to 50,000 followers, dude. And I don't know how. We had some controversial clips that went viral. TikTok will ban you for a lot of things, dude. We had so many random censorship warnings that came out. Like it was pretty intense. The time they banned me that really made me realize, oh, they take these words seriously. I was doing this take on the podcast, okay? And the take on the podcast, it was this concept I had that was, okay, I'm going to say it and you'll know why TikTok banned it, but it wasn't, I don't think they should have banned it. It was this thing I was working on called intellectual masturbation. Okay, so I was making this argument that, like, what does it mean to think profoundly about an idea and have that idea ultimately become an existential narrative for the trajectory of your existence? And I called it intellectual masturbation. I thought it was an interesting sort of phrase. And so we post a little video on TikTok where I said that word, obviously, and TikTok banned us. And they were like, you guys can't post anymore. And I was just like, what? Like that one, like that does not get you banned on YouTube. That does not get you banned on Instagram. Like it was, I get the word. I understand why they might be upset about it, but it was used in a funny, it was like a funny podcast, right? Like it's comedy, it's humor at that point. So they banned us for that, and we had to wait like a week until we could post again. And I was like, what are you talking about? This is ridiculous. So I think that's the case. If you talk if you talk about the CCP in a bad way, there's so many videos that they will ban you. Taiwan, they censor the crap out of that. The Israel-Palestine stuff, dude, if you just look up a couple of articles, it is heavily favored towards Palestine. And it is what it is, right? That's how the algorithm, they kind of want certain narratives to be favored there. So I do think it needs to be divested to an American company so that the CCP doesn't have control over this stuff. But in my experience with TikTok, there is a decent amount of censorship. And probably Instagram's not that much better, but TikTok's pretty damn bad. Adobe right now down 12.68%. And so, it seems like the market's not good. The market's either going to give Meta some love, or they're going to be a little worried about how this implicates Meta if TikTok actually stays. And Meta right now, 47, down about 1% on the day as well. Slippery slope. It's 100% a slippery slope. If you do ban TikTok, you do have to ban the other companies. I don't think they should be banned. I do think it should be divested, which is different. But if they outright ban it, yeah, I don't know, dude. That's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the rest of the broader ecosystem. YouTube is definitely not perfect. I would agree. But at the end of the day, the biggest issue with YouTube is they'll get mad if you use copyrighted material. In terms of the content on YouTube, I mean, I don't know what podcasts people watch and listen to, but there are so many things that are controversial on YouTube that you would never get on Netflix, right? And they allow it. And maybe they demonetize it sometimes here and there. It's whatever. It's a private business, advertise, but they don't straight up ban you. Now, I know there's cases where they've banned people. I get it. But in the context of what I've seen on TikTok, it's just a lot worse. And yes, you'll get demonetized for copyright, which happens all the time, but that's not YouTube's fault. That's just like media companies, that want to claim their revenue. So it's definitely not the best with TikTok. They banned so much during the pandemic. That's true. I mean, that's true. But then again, it wasn't just YouTube. Every platform, if you said the C word, you would be in trouble there, right? So I don't know, dude. These platforms are very powerful. I think the far majority of them give you leeway to do stuff. But if you're on the fringes in terms of some of your opinions, you still have a lot of leeway, but it can get pretty bad. Like Alex Jones is not on YouTube for a reason anymore. I think he should be allowed. I personally think he should be allowed. But sometimes, it can get pretty intense, and YouTube just doesn't want to be liable for that. Rumble, speaking of platforms, up 4%. Now, the problem is, and this is the dichotomy between TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, is that Rumble is trying to be a free speech competitor. And their moat is that, hey, we're going to be the platform where you can say whatever you want. The problem is no one uses this shit. And that's the problem. Now I say that in a hyperbolic way. Obviously they have, I think, like 60, 70 million users, but the big tech platforms, you just can't take them down, dude. You cannot take down. They're too powerful. They're too big. Like, and by the way, if anyone here in the chat is like, oh no, well, we should have alternatives, use Rumble. Don't use YouTube. You probably won't be able to go one day not using YouTube because you've already used it for so long that now you're kind of in, right? And it's really hard to get out. Same thing with Google. That's why it's such a crazy thing that Google's actually losing some traffic to ChatGPT, because everyone in the world uses Google. And when you're locked in, which is why it's a really big deal that ChatGPT is actually taking away some of that traffic. So, I mean, it's hard, dude. It's really hard to compete against these guys. And that's why they have so much power, but also that power doesn't really go away because people don't leave. Crowd Control says Rumble is cool, but not even close to YouTube. Yeah, that's the problem. Rumble is cool, but not even close to YouTube. You're going to get banned from YouTube talking like that, Amit. YouTube, please don't ban me. I love you. You know you're the best. You know I'll never cheat on you with Rumble. But the thing about Rumble also is just like it's not like look at the website, dude. It looks like if you download the app, like the Rumble app looks like it was made in 1992. That's the other problem with Rumble. I mean, it just doesn't look exciting. I'm going to sign in right now and show you guys if you've never downloaded it. Like it legit looks like look at this, dude. It doesn't feel like a Silicon Valley app. I know it kind of looks similar to YouTube, but it just doesn't. YouTube is just different. Instagram are different. They have these engineers, like figuring out how to instill the dopamine in our heads, and they did a good job. Now SoFi needs some of those engineers. SoFi needs some of those damn engineers because that app takes forever to load. Maybe if they have some of those engineers that could help. SoFi right now, Coinbase down 0.10%. SoFi 696. Wow, it's actually below 7. Unbelievable, dude. Unfreaking believable. This is insane, dude. This is incredible. I mean, like when it was 720, I was like, hey, Dad, we should buy 20 shares of SoFi in your account. My dad has a small account, and we're like, yeah, let's just load up on really undervalued companies and let it play out. And I think it was a good buy at 720 or 730, whatever we bought it at. But I did not think this thing would go below 7, dude. Like it's stupid. It's so stupid. It's insane. Am I buying? No, dude. I bought yesterday. I'm not buying. I bought it basically at 702 yesterday. I bought my options there. My options are pretty much the same price because I think the volatility on the options can't go down anymore, just given how depressed they already are. I think I'm literally getting the bottom on these, dude. Like, let me show you guys the options I have. So let me pull it up on the website. No, I'll show you that. So I have $17, $20 calls on SoFi. So 17.20 spread for Jan 2026. And the idea is if SoFi gets to $20, I'm going to make like a 13x. So as you can see right here, they're down $200. My average cost is 23 cents. And 17 minus 20 or 20 minus 17 is 3. So 3 divided by 0.23 makes a lot of money, right? So let's just say SoFi is $22 by January 2026. It doesn't need to be 2022. It doesn't need to be 22. It could be 20. There's a max profit there of $38,000 off an investment of $3,500, $3,400. That to me is pretty good. To make 38 grand, to spend 3,400, like I can leave this 3,500 here like for the next 2 years and not look at it. It's a very small part. I'm just like, all right, that's like a lottery ticket to me. If SoFi even gets to, let's call it 15 by January 26, well, then it's gonna be red because it has to be 17. But before then, it'll be up 7,000, right, in that 2025 era. And then if we get to at least 17 around that time, we should be more in the money. And let's assume we get to 19. If we get to $19, we'll make about like 20 grand. Like if SoFi is not 17 to $19 by January 2026, especially where Nodo's options, his PSUs are at $26, he has to make the stock above 26 for 60 days and he gets $500 million. I think he's heavily incentivized to get the stock up to 25, $26. I only needed to get to 17, 18 for me to make some money. If it gets to 20, I make a real good amount of money. So to me, to spend 3,500 to make 38,000, that's a worthwhile bet at the bottom of SoFi, I think. But if this bad boy goes to 640, 630, I'll be underwater on those options. And it's just sad because I legitimately thought I was getting the bottom. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. It's funny because the dip's not getting bought right now. You would think it touches 690, 697, and then it just pops up because people like their limit buys come through. But there seems to be more selling than buying right now. Chris says, did you say something about the CCP or Xi Jinping looking like a panda? I did not say that. You are saying that. I guess that's a random thought you were having right now, but low key, dude, he kind of does. I just thought of his picture. It's like, yeah, he kind of does. He's just not a friendly panda. He's a very mean panda. Coinbase 236, S&P 509. Wow, S&P actually falling below 510. S&P down. SoundHound's down 3%. Rumble down up 4%. Snowflake up a little bit. Palantir down at 2380. The crypto stocks, how are these guys doing? Wow, CleanSpark's up. Interesting. So basically, this is actually very inverse to the market. Bitcoin's down $5,000. CleanSpark's up 3%. The miners are moving in kind of an opposite direction here. Maybe people realizing that this Bitcoin dip is actually manipulated and it's about a surge because of this like recent liquidation, and they're trying to get into CleanSpark and the miners before that surge happens because they know like it's just unnatural for it to go down 5% without it having a rebound built in. Robinhood 1775 down 1.65%. So Robinhood below that $18 range, but at 1770. So not too bad for Robinhood. He looks like Winnie the Pooh. Oh my god, that's hilarious. that's hilarious. Tiggy says you'd be well advised to take profits like Carp did while you still can. Isn't Carp's rinse and repeat routine obvious to you by now? Some people do find pleasure in pain. I think Carp and Teal selling is not that big of a deal because they've held shares for 20 years. So to me, I don't find it that big of a deal that they offload some shares because they've held it for so long. And also, you know, Peter Thiel owns 140 million shares after he sold 7 million, and Carp owns like 65 million shares after he sold 1 million in the past or 2 million in the past year. So, you know, to me, as long as the company executes, I don't really care. The only time I think you should get worried about insider selling is when the stock is not congruent with investors in terms of share appreciation and the company's not executing. Company's executing, stock's gone up, insiders take profits. I don't really care. Now, SoFi's CRO selling 50% of his stake at like 740 or 750 3 months ago and then leaving to PayPal, that's a concerning part. And I remember when I was saying that was concerning, and a lot of people were like, no, it's not a big deal. Insiders sell. I get it. Insiders always sell. But the CRO, the chief risk officer, should not get rid of half of his stake. Like that to me was very weird. And obviously we're seeing why he sold. Maybe he thought there were going to be some difficulties coming up. But the ironic thing is there's no difficulties in SoFi's business from what I'm understanding. Outside of the capital raise they did, which I guess got the market upset, SoFi's executing phenomenally, and they're growing like crazy, that 35% year over year, and Noto is a rock star. So it's kind of weird how the market is playing it out. It's because he was leaving. Yeah, but he didn't have to sell. He could have held the stock even if he was leaving, right? He could have, like, if SoFi is going to go up, you could just hold the stock and leave, right? Unless he had to. I don't know if he had to if he was leaving, but it was kind of weird that ended up playing out. Let's get an update on Bitcoin. Here is the crypto.com CEO speaking about the future of Bitcoin and the $7.5 trillion market cap that Bitcoin could get to, that Bernstein put out yesterday, is possible for the overall industry.
Bernstein initiating a crypto rating this week with a bullish call for the sector. Analysts at the firm expecting the total crypto market cap to reach $7.5 trillion by 2025. Joining us right now is Crypto.com CEO Chris Meslerek. Good morning to you. Let's start here. If $7.5 trillion, what is the current market cap of crypto right now? Bitcoin is what, about 1.5?
About that, yes. So we are looking at roughly 3xing the entire market, according to the analysts, over a period of, say, 18 months.
And we've been talking this morning, and really all week, or maybe in the last several weeks. Obviously, Bitcoin's been on this remarkable run, as has Ethereum and so many of the other currencies. We can discuss whether they should be described as currencies or what they should be described as. But when you see this type of move, how much of this is literally just a supply-demand issue that's being created by the halving of Bitcoin, but maybe more importantly, the ETF market, and how much of it is something else, meaning it has to do with what you think the Fed is going to do, or what the economy is doing, or what the NASDAQ is doing?
I think the move is predominantly driven by the inflows from the Bitcoin ETFs. This is a very successful product, and there's a problem of supply side, so it has to be reflected in the price.
What do you make of this move down, though, even in the past couple of days? What is that suggestive of?
I think it's a healthy move, removing some of the leverage that is built up in the
I agree.
system. And what we want to avoid is sudden, super aggressive spikes. We would really like to see steady inflows into the industry, into Bitcoin and other coins that will allow us to have about 12 to 18 months.
Can you figure out, though, Chris, what's happening? Literally in the past 24 hours, we've gone from, call it $73,000 to $67,000.
Five.
Was that a function of the retail market selling actual Bitcoins, or was that institutions selling the ETF product? What do you see, given the flows that you see, actually happening behind the scenes?
All right, so we sit on a ton of proprietary data, so we can look back at what happened in 2021 cycle from retail perspective and compare it to what's happening now. Looking at the data and the intent as the signal from retail side, we are probably in December 2020, January 2021. We're seeing this kind of metrics, right? So I think this is predominantly driven by what's happening in the options market and a correction. But you have to remember that this level of volatility is actually pretty low comparing to what we've seen in previous cycles.
Like,
so
that's what I want to ask you, Chris. Is that over? I mean, 20,000 to 3, 65,000 down to 17. Now there's ETFs. There's more mass adoption. There's more institutional if you will, ownership. Are those days over? Or can we still expect 80% high to low moves for Bitcoin in the future?
I think you would see a steady ramp up, and that's what we want. And I think as the size of the market and the increasing liquidity happen, you will see less of sudden moves.
Less of that.
This is an asset that you want to hold for decades, not for days or weeks.
All right, so I think
let's talk about whether
I think he's right about that. I mean, overall, the Bitcoin momentum that we're seeing here seems to be a little tailored towards the downside on liquidating some of these leverage positions, which I think is actually very healthy because you got to get rid of a lot of some of the speculation. And if you can do that, then there's more upside in the future. And I think it makes sense to take a break, to relax a little bit instead of it going to 80,000 tomorrow, but having it chill out here, consolidating and getting rid of leverage. PayPal 62.67, that's up 0.52%. SoFi 692, down 1.85%. I didn't want to have to buy the dip on SoFi today. I might have to buy the dip. I mean, like, if my options get cheaper than they are, I will buy those. Currently, they are still green because I think, they already got so low, right? So we'll see if that happens. But I mean, I don't know where the support seems to be on SoFi right now at $6 in this 90-cent level. Matt here in the chat says he bought the SoFi May 10th or May $10 SoFi calls for 19 cents, and he's expecting a reversal and will sell at a 50 to 100% profit next week. I hope so, dude. I mean, $10 is not crazy for SoFi. It's $6.92. I think this is a dumb dip. It should get back to hopefully that $7.90, $7.80 range, and those options should do well. So, yeah, let's see if that plays out. I mean, I think the dip should get bought. I just don't know if there's going to be enough momentum there in the near term to get it bought. CleanSpark 6019 up 2.2%. Amazon's down, Nvidia's down, Oracle's down, Datadog's down. It is a Friday. I keep forgetting. A lot of options are expiring. So, I mean, a red day is a red day. Palantir getting a hit, 23.80. Probably will buy a couple shares of Palantir today as well. But we got some more red in the markets. Palantir, I can see 20 in the near future again. Keep shorting this meme stock overvalued. Okay. If we get to 20, dude, I won't necessarily be complaining. I will be doing something with my money if Palantir gets to $20. So again, I don't think Palantir is overvalued at $23.79. I think if the market takes a tumble, sure, we could fall. But we just hit 27, dude. Like it all depends around sentiment around AI. And Nvidia's conference next Monday is really important. If they can show that this AI momentum carries on, whole market's going to carry with it. We just have to see if that actually ends up playing out. Cool. I think that's it. All right, let's do word of the day. That is it for me today. Okay, this one is an easier one to say. This one doesn't seem that hard. Defenestrate. Defenestrate.
Defenestrate.
Yo, sometimes they be getting these voice actors that just sound so beautiful. Like that woman's voice is so incredible, dude. Why don't they just have them for every word? So,
Defenestrate.
to throw a thing out a window. That's a hell of a word to describe that. During the heated argument, he threatened to defenestrate his laptop. The mischievous cat managed to defenestrate several objects from the second floor apartment. I like that one. To throw something out the window. Defenestrate. Defenestrate. Kelly has a cuter voice than her. Kelly has a much cuter voice. But that voice is also, cute as well. Defenestrate. To throw a thing out of a window. If SoFi can't get its act together, a lot of people are going to defenestrate SoFi out of the window of their portfolio. That wasn't the best, but anyway, defenestrate, not a bad word. SoFi actually catching up right now. 698 looks like it might try to get back to 7. Robin at 1791, recovering a little bit, and then we got Palantir today, 2384, down 2.44%. All right, that's it. Kelly's going to defenestrate him. All right, everybody. That's it for me. Thank you for joining. We'll be back for the market close, 3:45 p.m. If I don't see you, have a great weekend. Hope you have time with your family. You can get some work done, get to relax a bit. It's great weather in New Jersey, and so I was able to go to the park yesterday after the market closed. We have some nice weather here. And that's it for me. We'll have Palantir Weekly tonight, I believe. I'm pretty sure we'll have Palantir Weekly, and we'll keep discussing Palantir. And then we'll go from there. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good Friday. See you for the market close, and I'll see you later. Have a good one. Good night, everyone. Not good night, good morning. You know what I mean? But whatever. See you later. Bye.